Hello and welcome back to Good Game Nation, where we bring you all things TCG. My name is Preston and I'm here with Sam.
Hello. I think we're posting this one last. They're gonna want. I'm just been wearing the same hoodie, every day.
Yeah, it happens. Um, with the super pre-release this weekend, uh, you're gonna probably want to run through the list of videos that we posted this week and get a good idea of what is happening at these events and give you a little bit of insight on how people might be playing each of these decks so you can make the best choice. Today, the last day of our prep, we're getting to Kaido, leader of the Beast Pirates. I
Bing
mean, my
bing
goodness,
bing.
that's a great wallpaper of
Oh,
Kaido.
I know. I love it. Obsessed.
Starting off with Kaido, where we should start all deck profiles, the leader. This is a leader that works well into the standard format and has an interesting effect that you're most likely going to play on your last turn so that you win. Um, his effect is once per turn minus, is it 6 or 7 Dawn? Um, 7 Dawn,
7.
-7 Dawn to trash the top card of your opponent's life. It's a good way to finish a game. Make them take that last life that they didn't think they were gonna lose that turn, and now they have to defend with all they got to not lose. So it's a really good finisher. And if you can remove those Dons from your character cards, that's even better. If you've already expended your Don into
Your turn.
into turn
Yeah.
moves to attacks and stuff, you can move those Dons off of your character cards and bonus uh, lose a life and most likely win that turn.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're not playing in a format where they're obviously not playing constructed. These are pre-constructed decks, so there's not a lot of resource advantage gains. Like Bonnie's probably the best card to draw, so you're not going to have an opportunity to do this twice. So it's a loaded gun. Make sure to use it. Make sure to use it. Use it at the end of the game. Take that life because they're not drawing it. There's no huge con there, and then go for the game with your next attack. This is your hugest win con, I'd probably say. So
Yeah, it definitely sets you up for your last move to be able to attack
yeah,
over and finish the game.
absolutely. Yeah, let's get into some of the pros of the decks. We have to probably start with the win cons here. They're the big names, the big guns, the trio here. Starting with Kaido. This Kaido is probably the most played purple card, I'd imagine. I think I see 3 to 4 counts in almost every deck next to some of the blockers. -5 Dawn, KO has 6 or less and gets Rush. This kills everything in the format besides Kaido's, Kid, and Doflamingo. I think these are the
5 or less,
6 or less.
6 or less, yeah.
I think those are the only 3 cards in this tournament that it won't kill. So, if we see this card in opening hands, I would recommend keeping it because if you can get this card on the board, you probably just win. There's nothing that can remove this. They're gonna have to spend a bunch of Dawn and then attack into this. Uh, huge win con. Then King, again, another source of removal, -1 Dawn, KO 4 or less. Again, this ruins a lot of blue decks. Everything that's important in the blue deck is a 4 drop. The X Drake is a 4 drop. Your really pesky Frankies are 4 drops. And if you win first, you could probably play this on your second turn, and you're probably just killing the Frankie with your King. That doesn't feel good. That
Right.
just doesn't feel good. And then the best card is probably the Queen. Your draw, your blocker. You're gonna use this to find more. Gonna use this to find your King and Kaido. Uh, yeah, I don't think too much to say about Queen. Queen is a great card and has been in all of our purple decks so far.
Yep,
Yeah.
and probably will be for a while with a great on play effect and a big power blocker.
Can't imagine it's going anywhere.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and other cards that draw in this deck is the All-Star Calamity event and Sasaki. So you have those two options to draw also.
Not bad.
Sasaki -1 Dawn, so if you don't have Onigashima, he's less of a good play.
Yeah.
But at only one -1, that's only half of your turn resource because you're
Yeah.
going to get two every turn, so it's not that bad. A lot of these -1s feel bad early and amazing late,
Yep.
especially if you have Onigashima because you're going to get 3 Dawn every turn instead of 2. Um, and getting a rested Dawn to play off of one of these effects is super nice.
Absolutely.
Uh, other,
There's a very little ramp as well. So keep that in mind when you're mulliganing. The only cards that do ramp is Onigashima and Jack. Jack's not incredibly great because you do have this kind of card in your hand, but you do have a lot of easy options to discard, like Black Maria, or I'm sorry, Jin Rummy, and any extra Onigashimas. Please discard your extra Onigashimas. Do not hold on to those guys.
yeah, the other ramp is All-Star
Oh,
Calamity, the event card.
I'll start climbing.
It the thing is you're ramping one for 4. You're drawing one also, but it just doesn't feel great. Just like Brachio Bomber doesn't feel great to play when there's other options at 6 cost. It's really heavy to add a Dawn and KO something. When you, it just depends on how the game's going. I just feel like it's something that's not gonna get uh, a good playoff. It feels over like leaving 4 Dawn open with it just doesn't feel good. I can't express the words how bad it feels to play 6 cost cards
I we
with this
Brachio,
deck.
yeah, Brachio Bomber is a card we tested a lot too. This is a card we put in a lot of different purple decks, and it never felt good to play. It always felt better to play King, but we only do run 2 Kings, and there's going to be situations you could definitely remove key pieces. You can hit the Laws, you can hit Reposing Queens, Crocs, even the starter Luffy. There's cards you could hit with this, so it's definitely not a bad card. Just plan out your turn accordingly, because there's definitely will leave you open if you can only just play Brachio Bomber.
Yeah, it's a very expensive card.
Yeah.
So you might overplay your turn and then not have enough Dawn to play it.
Yep.
So definitely play your turn as intelligently as possible so that you can get that out. Because you could Brachio Bomber into ulti into page 1. That's a disgusting turn.
And it's
Uh,
a nice segue, I think, to ulti.
exactly.
Hmm.
What a key card this deck has in ulti. Being a 2k counter and a tempo play into page 1 if you have them both in your hand. Uh, it's probably game changing in most of these matchups. Having a 5k into a 6k for only 4 Dawn -1, which you can hit one of the ones you arrested, um, is going to be huge because both of those cards are attacking into leader, putting on a lot of pressure that your opponent might not be able to sustain through, especially in this big hitter deck.
Absolutely. Opening hands, Onigashima is a card you want to see, that you need to see, but you only want to see one of them. You definitely don't want to see more. This is a card that I think we have a love-hate relationship with this card. We want to see it, but we hate seeing 2 of them. So if you see an opening hand, great. If you want to mull for it, keep in mind, there are other cards that are also very important for this deck. Jack, who's a card that I would classify as important as well. Your probably most troublesome matchup's going to be red. Who's who can definitely help in that matchup, KOing key cards like Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei. So keep that in mind. Your heavy hitters like King and Kaido, I normally wouldn't recommend keeping, but since they're so important to your late game, if you see one of them, consider keeping it just because of how important the win con is, how important those cards are for you putting the game away.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I think if you see a lot of low cost cards early on, you're not going to be too bad. Like if you get multiple Black Marias, that's not a bad thing. You're going to be able to sustain until you get into King and Kaido. Um, Seeing it one King or Kaido in opening hand is going to be advantageous if you can get to them. If you're playing red and you know you're playing red, it might change your decisions up a little bit. But Onigashima is definitely something that I mulligan for every time.
Yep.
I want to be able to ramp consistently, especially with no way for people to get rid of stages at all in this game
Yep.
so far.
Absolutely. And let's just talk about some things. If you're playing up against purple, I would imagine purple is probably one of the least colors we'll see. But it was one of the first starters we got, so there could be players with a ton of practice on this. So I would be prepared for it. Again, we mentioned it that the cost curve is very middle centered like blue, but a lot of the important cards are late game cards. Your queens, kings, kaidos are the cards we want to be marking. These are the cards that are going to be very important for us to remove very early. We can remove king or queen, but I think suggesting to win before the Kaido comes on board is very important, especially if you're playing red.
Yeah, definitely don't want to see a Kaido. So if you're seeing a Kaido and you're playing red, you most likely lost because you're out of resources at this point.
Yeah.
Um, they do have Blast Breath also. You have to remember if they're leaving one Dawn open, they have a 4K counter. I would say easy to assume with four in this deck, they have some of the best counters in purple. Having four ultis and then four blast breaths, I think that's probably better than all of the other ones.
Green has repel and
And
the two, yeah, scalpel. So green's the only one ahead, but green is easily the most defensive deck. So purple's probably close second because they do have queen as a blocker, just like they have uh, kid later on and law. Jeez, the green deck is so defensive. But this is a good matchup into that green deck still because you're able to remove a lot of the key cards with Brachio Bomber, Kaido, and King.
yeah,
And that law doesn't present too much of an issue if you have this Kaido because it is 3K natural power stronger.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah. I think that's all we can say about this deck. It's gonna be a good match if you're playing. If you know how to play around its disadvantages of minusing Dawn, and it's going to be a really good matchup against green. And you, as we've seen in the meta, purple is winning a lot, so
sure.
it could be good to get on the side of purple early on. But that's all we have time for today. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want more One Piece TCG content, subscribe and ring the bell, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.